A very good afternoon to everyone. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Dr. Wang and I'm a dermatologist. I practice at Mount E Novena Hospital. So in the next 20 minutes, I shall be sharing with you about how work stress can affect your skin. And I shall be focusing on three very common skin conditions that can be aggravated by stress, namely eczema, hives, and acne. So as you all probably know, stress can affect our physical health. It is known to trigger or aggravate certain medical conditions in genetically susceptible individuals. So today I shall talk about three very common skin conditions that I see in my practice, and these three conditions are commonly aggravated or triggered when a person is under stress. So I shall be talking about eczema, otherwise known as atopic eczema, hives, and acne. But before jumping into these skin conditions, I shall discuss a little bit about how stress affects our physical bodies. So stress is more than just a mental thing. When we are under stress, there's a whole cascade of biochemical changes that happens in our body. So first of all, stress causes dysregulation of our immune system. We also know that stress promotes inflammation. And through these pathways, it can trigger or aggravate certain chronic inflammatory skin conditions. So let's talk about how our immune system actually works. So this is just a very broad overview about what our immune system is all about. So our immune system is actually a very intricate and dynamic network of immune cells and chemicals that are released by these immune cells. They're also known as cytokines. So there's a lot of busy activity going on within our immune system every day with these immune cells talking to one another, producing cytokines, and directing our essential bodily functions. So what does our immune system do for us? It has two key functions. Firstly, it serves a protective function, and secondly, it serves a surveillance function. So let's talk about the protective function first. So our immune system is like our Singapore Armed Forces, our national defense system. It protects our bodies from what? From external threats. What kind of threats does our body face? It can be simplistically summarized into two categories of threats. The first threat are germs, like bacteria, fungus, parasites, viruses, things that we encounter every day. The second threat that our body faces are allergens. Now, allergens come in the form of environmental allergens as well as food allergens. So a common example of an environmental allergen would be dust mites, pollen, mold. So these are some common environmental allergens. And food allergens, as you're probably well aware, there are many. And one of the few top food allergens that are known include things like peanuts, cow's milk, and eggs. The second important function that our immune system serves is the surveillance function. So what do I mean by that? Our immune system is constantly working throughout our body, circulating within our circulatory system and our lymphatic system. And it's performing a surveillance function. It's detecting if there's any abnormal cells that are produced by our bodies. And once there is an abnormal cell that is being produced, the immune system that is functioning healthily should be able to recognize that naughty or abnormal cell and then institute a whole series of reactions to get rid of this unhealthy or abnormal cell. So, in summary, two key functions that our immune system serves, a protective function and a surveillance function. Now, we should not take our immune system for granted because as I'm speaking, my immune system is working hard to keep my body healthy. Our bodies need to be kept healthy with a healthy immune system that is in homeostatic balance. Our immune system is not healthy if it's too strong or if it's too weak. It has to be in a balanced mode. Okay, so when our bodies face an external threat, maybe a bacteria, okay, so what our immune system does is that it is supposed to respond in a calibrated fashion, in just enough reaction to get rid of the threat, but without triggering excessive reactions that may trigger inflammation or autoimmune conditions. So a little bit more about our immune system again. So our immune system can be broadly categorized into two key systems. The first system, as you can see on my slide, is our first responder, otherwise known as our innate immunity. This is the first line of response. It's very quick to respond when, for example, a bacteria enters our body. It is non-specific. It's like, a bacteria comes and then I throw a grenade at the bacteria and I try to get rid of it. So that is our first line of response, otherwise known as the innate immunity. This is a more primitive form of immunity. Then while our innate immunity is trying to contain the threat, our adaptive immunity, which is the second line of defense, then starts to kick in. Our adaptive immunity is much more precise, it's much more advanced, it's much more powerful in being able to get rid of the threat. However, it comes in a little bit later. And the unique thing about our adaptive immunity is that it has memory and it is enemy specific. So it's able to mount a very targeted and a specific response against one particular bacteria or against the virus by recognizing the genetic makeup of the threat. And this is exactly how vaccines work. Let's move on to talk about stress. Now, as I'm speaking to you now, I'm under acute stress. This is a normal situation. Acute stress is the type of stress that we face when we're giving a talk. Before we enter our examination room, especially before maybe a piano exam or an oral exam, for example. It's also the type of stress when we face, let's say, when you're walking down the street and suddenly this big vicious dog comes at you and starts barking at you, threatening to come and bite you. So acute stress we face all the time. It's natural, and it's a natural response of our bodies to help us survive. So we call this a fight or a flight response. So our body kicks into this stress mode to help us perform well in the exams, to counter or do well at the job interview, or to run away from the threat in the case of being faced with a vicious dog. So acute stress reactions are physiological. They are essential for survival. It is natural. And when it's kicked in, it's meant to enhance our performance, and our immunity is actually enhanced when we're facing acute stress. Now, what happens when the acute stress becomes a form of chronic stress, daily stress? Then it's not so good, okay? With chronic stress, there's a lot of changes that occur in our immune system. The milieu of immunological reactions starts to change gradually in a way that it starts to become unhealthy and dysfunctional. So it disturbs the healthy balance of our immune system. And with chronic stress, we know that the immune system becomes dysregulated. We fall sick more easily. The immune system is weakened. So this summarizes the immunology of stress. With chronic stress, there's this persistent activation of the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, which is a very important hormonal axis that exists in our body. It also stimulates our sympathetic nervous system, triggering excessive release and prolonged release of stress hormones such as glucocorticoids, catecholamines, adrenaline, and noradrenaline. And it is known that chronic stress can alter the behavior of our immune cells and the production of a healthy balance of immune cytokines, such that the nice homeostatic balance that a healthy immune system should have is completely thrown off balance. Okay? It is also noteworthy that individuals react to stress differently. And that is perhaps probably because people react immunologically to stress differently as well. So therefore, I guess we are all familiar with saying, oh, some people react better to stress than others. Maybe it's not all in the mind, because there may be a genetic susceptibility when a person's immune system is more at risk of becoming imbalanced or doesn't function properly in the face of chronic stress. But this remains a topic under research. So here I've listed down some of conditions, medical conditions, that have been identified to have a strong correlation to stress. That means that stress has been identified to be an important aggravating factor or trigger of these conditions. So they include muscular conditions like fibromyalgia. They include rheumatological conditions like arthritis, especially rheumatoid arthritis. Another rheumatological condition, lupus or systemic lupus erythematosus, otherwise known as SLE. Gut conditions such as inflammatory bowel disease, which has a strong immunological basis. And skin conditions which have strong immunological basis, such as eczema, acne, hives, and psoriasis. So let's dive in to talk about atopic eczema, which is